Mortara, some 50 kilometers southwest of Milan, is the realm of the goose. Ever since the mid-15th century, when the Duke of Milan consented the right to a Jewish community to raise geese in Mortara, it has been Italy's goose-raising capital. And everywhere you go, there are references to geese. So my Sunday excursion lunch very logically brought me to the restaurant Il Cuuc, renowned for its goose specialties. Il Cuuc is the fantasy nickname given to Chef Davide, not a local word for a goose. Inside the restaurant, there were framed drawings of geese engaged in equally fantasy activities, playing tennis or applying lipstick. Geese carved in wood in various poses were also omnipresent. The ones you see here are a small selection. Obviously, my lunch menu was going to be goose-focused. This even included the bread basket, containing mini focacce made with goose cracklings, which came with some normal salami and a chunk of grana. I also got a glass of Barbera, which the maitre d' Claudia assured me was what I should drink with my meal. No better way to start off than with an antipasto featuring no fewer than 7 goose specialties, more or less clockwise from top right. A triangle of goose galantine, Mortara goose salami with the protected designation of origin IGP, a round of marbré with pistachios, a generous heap of goose breast with pomegranate seeds in the center, goose prosciutto in the lower left corner, mortadella with liver, and at the top, goose liver pâté with 2 slices of fig bread to go with it. A risotto with fresh goose liver and saffron was a must to follow. We were in the midst of the Lomellina in Mortara, in the center of Italy's biggest rice-growing area, and it goes without saying that a risotto here is a demonstration of how a risotto should be made. Considering the amount of walking I had planned for after lunch, and in light of the heat, I decided it would be wise to pass on a goose secondo. Nothing wrong with something sweet to finish off with, however, so I ordered a bonette, the Piemontese classic, the Piemonte starting just 20 kilometers to the west of Mortara. Bonette is one of Italy's best spoon desserts, made from cocoa and amaretti and other delicious, rich things. My afternoon stroll was to the Abbey of Sant'Albino, and when I paid my bill, I was told that to get there all I had to do was to veer right at the fork by the Municipio, town hall, and then just walk straight for a total of about 2 kilometers. Soon I indeed saw signs for the Via Francigena, one of Europe's oldest routes of pilgrimage to Rome, starting in Canterbury, England, crossing France and Switzerland, and passing through Mortara. Outside the town center, I walked by rice fields next to the ring road around Mortara. On the other side of this road, I found a map indicating this stretch of the Via Francigena. When I reached the grounds of the abbey, there were several bicycle pilgrims waiting for the doors to open at 3 and to be assigned their sleeping quarters for the night. As a non-pilgrim who'd only walked out from the town after a delectable and embarrassingly filling lunch, I merely wanted to visit, and one of the 2 sisters attending to pilgrims unlocked the church, gave me some information on its history to read, and indicated a pew. In brief, from the information I read, the first chapel on this site dates back to the mid-4th century. The abbey got its present name after a famous battle between Charlemagne and the Lombard king Desiderius in 773, after which a miraculous occurrence, far too complicated to go into here, occasioned the founding of a monastery on the site by Father Albin Alcuin, a monk in Charlemagne's retinue. The monks, all from France, later dedicated the monastery to Saint Albin of Angers. As to what we see today, the bell tower apparently dates to the 13th century, and the church itself, part of which collapsed in 1539, was rebuilt the year afterwards. The church's interior was restored in 1999. Preserved artworks date back to the 15th and 16th centuries. Perhaps most interesting for me was this urn in a glass case in the wall. It contains bones found underneath the altar during the restoration works, which carbon dating ascribes to around the year 1000. After a half hour spent in utter tranquility, I was the only visitor inside the church. I stepped outside into the shade of the portico, where the two sisters were explaining to other visitors the history of their own association with the church and their activities for passing pilgrims. Time to retrace my steps on the walk back to Mortara. Few sights are as deserted as such small-town streets on a Sunday afternoon in the Lomellina. Nearby, the station was already in the shade as I boarded my train for the return trip. Once I got back to Milan, I would have just enough time to put my feet up before going out to dinner at Ristorante Belle, by which time I knew my appetite would have returned in full. All the exciting details of my dinner there will be in my next video.